looking at the DNA, and it's a lot of it's classified, but this has come out in the New York Times, and they're saying, okay, we're not from here. This isn't of this planet. It's way older than everything around here.
And there's so much of the story. And a lot
this is what the elite actually obsess
on. Talked about in this book. But right now, we have 2 strands, 23 chromosomes, but most of the scientists say that 95 to 98% of our DNA is unsustainable or barren or what they call junk DNA. The one that we call God or our creator or whatever you want to call it does not make junk. And because there is more electromagnetic frequency coming into the solar system and onto our planet from the center of the galaxy, it is activating this recessive DNA. And there is an amazing evolution of consciousness that is taking place. But because this is a free will situation, it is up to each. They're
trying to get us to opt into their matrix.
Yeah,
and let's just say it's psychopaths inbred who think they're God are like different than the rest of us. Let's just say it's men. They say they want to become gods. They say they're merging, and they say we're junk and getting rid of us. And I'm sorry, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. And I'm not getting, my children and their progeny are going to get to experience the amazing things God has in store for them. And all these fake establishment people and the Pope telling us world government's good, they can all just get right out of the way.
Yeah.
I have free will. I choose to tell your world government and your positronic robot state to go right back to hell where it came from.
And, and a lot of people say, well, don't get angry and don't get afraid. Well, a little bit of fear is real because
it's motivation.
This is motivation because this life is so.
They've got us in a trance. The reason I've been successful is I'm genuine, I'm alive, and my life force is strong. And my DNA, my whole spirit, my gut, all of it's connected is saying, get out of this, warn people.
And then what you have done is that you have translated that fear into courage, into wisdom. And, even the one called Jesus, when he was in the temple, he was throwing things around. It is important for each of us to open our hearts, to open our minds, and to have some backbone. It is absolutely essential that these front porch patriots get off their butts and start doing some work. Start supporting the things that Alex...
Well, they are supporting us because they now know.
I know they are.
People know, but listen, we've reached the point where the denial's gone now. Even people that are in the establishment go, okay, I know it's real. I'm going to go with the big guys. And I go, even though they're anti-human? And he goes, well, it's always the same. Well, you know what? You're not going to beat them. I mean, it's literally like we're in this subterranean deal and they live, and the guys are going, hell, you want to join them? Come on, I'm glad you came to the party, guys.
Most of these people is cognitive dissonance. They don't even know what they're doing. It's like when you have a scar, there's a scab that goes over it. Most of these people are so afraid.
They're traumatized.
They're traumatized. But with focus, things can change. Just think how much almost all of us have changed in our consciousness in the last 5 or 10 years. And people are changing every day. They're becoming aware.
And that's why they're racing to dumb us down. What do you think about Black Lives Matter and all this?
Black Lives Matter is one of the saddest jokes in our country right now. Clearly, George Soros, who is a Hungarian communist, is funding this. He's paying them $16 an hour. He's the one who is behind the whole financial collapse in Thailand. I was there when it happened.
He brags about it.
He does. Of course he does.
He says, I'm behind the Arab Spring. I'm behind the situation in
Thailand.
Ukraine, too.
Yeah.
Did you know I was reading his writings the other day, excerpts of his books where he says, I am messianic. I have known I'm the one since I was born. I had to keep it secret. They locked me up. I'm taking over the planet. I'm serious. You look it up.
And the fact is that there are, for every George Soros, there's 15 or 20 behind him who want to step into his shoes. But also the fact is that for every George Soros, there's millions and millions of us who believe in the goodness of this planet, who believe in the sanctity of life, who believe in the republic, who believe in the Constitution, who believe that our word matters. And now it is up to us, whether you're black, white, or poor, all lives matter. Not just black lives, all lives matter. Blue lives matter.
And that doesn't lessen somebody if you say all lives. It makes everybody better.
Absolutely. And clearly, one of the things that Alex has always done so much is that he has made it very clear that we're all in this together. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. Is that 200 years ago, the blacks, you could see the blacks were supposedly the slaves. Now, everyone, not everyone, but 96% of the planet is psychological slavery, and that's the greatest slavery there is.
Well, China is the worst slavery I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I travel in China. You know, I have a place in Thailand, and I go into China, And people, you don't realize how big and bad China is.
Listen, let's talk about that now. Not the Chinese people themselves, but you were talking about what Soros just did in Thailand. Yeah. And I interrupt you. Talk about that, and then let's talk about, I mean, you can Google this, folks. Jakari did a report on it yesterday. In fact, maybe ask him. He can pull it off for you guys. Where the Chinese government came out and said, prepare for battle. It could happen any time with the U.S. South China Sea. But then our own globalist government is investing heavily in China. How does Russia tie into that? Because I don't think Russia's perfect, but they really seem to have broken free of the oligarchs. They're paying people to have kids. They have national TV shows that sound like me. They're talking about the world government and fighting it. They're saying Hillary's evil. I mean, it seems like that with Soros and all of them, they're trying to bring Russia down. So let's talk geopolitically about how you see the pieces.
There's a fact that history tends to repeat itself. And the reality is that the nation of Khazaria, which was a Talmud nation between 523 and 1150, is that the people who defeated the Khazarians were the precursors, the Romanovs. And then there was the diaspora, and they went in. And the people who did the money change, the Russians would never let them into their country. They were the only ones who would not let them take over their bank. And that's why the Bolshevik Revolution was started in 1917.
And financed out of New York and London.
To be financed right in New York, you know, and Jacob Schiff helped finance it, of course. And the fact is, and again, Putin is not perfect. There's a lot of good people in Russia also. And for whatever reason, they have the nationalism and the intelligence to say, hey, the game that they're telling in the West and the game that Obama is telling you, it's not true. It's dangerous. They're lining up to put missiles all around us. And folks, they're tough. Putin is tough, and he's going to fight back just like the Chinese are. And it doesn't have to go down that way. It doesn't have to go down.
Let's talk about China, total mobilization.
Well, remember, there's 1.3 billion people in China. Shanghai is the wealthiest city in the whole world. Is that their industrial might? In 1989, the United States, 43% of our GNP was industrial, now it's 9%. And all of that's over in China. They have the ability to create high-tech weapons very like that.
But let's talk master plan. The spider down the hole, pulling the strings up the top. What's it doing? Because it's lining the world up.
Well, when I go to China, the Chinese people that I meet are gracious and wonderful. And to a person, they realize that their government is corrupt. And they do not want to be fighting with America. But clearly, their government,
And China really loved us after World War II.
We've done some things to China that have not been right. But
we put the communists in again.
Of course we did.
Just like Russia.
Of course we did. Of course we did. Of course.
All declassified.
Yeah,
that's why I don't want to hear about bashing China and Russia. Our evil elite literally set those nightmares up.
Yeah, we created the Bolshevik Revolution here in the United States, and not we as human beings.
And that's the neocons today.
Jacob Schiff's. And the point is,
or whatever, can be given the advanced info to be able to take over. There's also people that have those genetics who can also be good as well. Yeah. So the issue is it's not this group's bad or this group's good, or the black nationalists, that the blacks are the chosen ones, or the Jews are the chosen ones, or the Protestants were the chosen ones. Every group's saying that. The point is, whatever's going on this planet, you go back 160, 70 years ago, there was a breeding program declassified over 30 years later in London of the Wedgwoods, the Darwins, the Huxleys, and others, to genetically breed people and create supermen. Now, we're told they came up with a theory of evolution and all this when Darwin had this hallucination. And go read his actual writings, and these spirits were telling him all this. That's not what went on, folks. They interbred these families. They believe, people that were already psychic, to be able to receive this info from across the void. This isn't me believing this. This is where the elite believe, like a Skull and Bones, they're channeling advanced info from somewhere else on how to build it. They envision the DNA. Biometrics was invented in like 1855 by these people. They had these visions, And people go, oh, my God, look at the theory of the species. And we're not even saying it's all real. They were given all this twisted anti-human cosmology from the other side of the void in a satanic breeding program financed by the the Transylvanian royal family of the UK.
You know, if you're a first-time listener, this stuff sounds really wild. And I am so glad that Alex is so on top of this. He is saying,
well, I've known all this I've known this for about 20 years. But the point is that
talked about this a long time ago.
The point is the reason I can talk about it is the elite believe it. I don't believe it, George. I don't go with what I have FEMA camp documents at Army.mil admitting they're preparing re-education camps using that term, George.
I know, absolutely.
And people won't believe that. So, you know what? I don't get into stuff I can't prove. You know that. All I know is the elite say everything you're saying, but from their perspective.
Absolutely. And the point is that we as human beings have a choice.
I mean, if I say Prince Charles lives in Dracula's castle, it sounds insane. He lives in Dracula Castle half the year. I mean that's insane. He does, though. These people are insane. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You know, when you go down this rabbit hole, it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. But what I want to do is back up a little bit and realize that most of you are hearing the emergency in our voice, because we're at an emergency right now. It's not next year. It's not next month. It's not next week. It's right now.
And you've been coming on air for 20 years. You never talk like this.
Yeah, because I'm learning. My awareness is learning, and I've been studying this stuff for a long time. I've been studying the UFO alien thing for 25 years, but my level of awareness of it in the last 2 or 3 years has gone just like this. And I go and listen to people like Laura Eisenhower, Linda Moulton Howe, Richard Dolan, David Icke, who you've had on many times, Dr. David Jacobs. If you want to read an incredible book, read David Jacobs' books. And this is all information that you can agree with or not agree with, but consider the possibilities. Continue to listen.
Well, yeah, what's going on this planet? Why do the elite keep doing this? They believe they breed to have people that can channel more what's coming from the other side. Again, I'm like an anthropologist. I don't believe any of this. I'm just saying I don't know. I'm saying the elite, though, every time I get to the bottom of the rabbit hole, they believe that there's creatures in another dimension. I'm giving them info.
Yeah, and all you have to do is go to some of their ceremonies, like, you know, in California at Bohemian Grove, and look what they're doing there. But it's happening all over the world. But again,
we'll be back. We'll be back. Stay with us. The Japanese emperor is about to step down. I mean, the articles at Infowars.com are up at the top. There's so many of them, and I tend to just get into big pictures, so many shows now. But I know David and I have been covering a lot of this coming up. We have the UN, another article here, CNS News behind Black Lives Matter. I mean, this is just, you cannot make up the boldness of all this weirdness. You learn that like half the camps you try to put your daughters in the summer now, in a place like Austin, have like weird, bizarro, feminist, chip on your shoulder curriculum. Not about empowering women, about turning them into basket cases. They want to turn everybody into these sniveling, scared, like a cat that's never been out of the house and is scared of everybody. They just want us in a corner.
Yeah, it's happening in so many ways, in different ways. And the way to fight it is, first of all, through awareness, waking up. Secondly, ditching the victim consciousness. Third, becoming aware of the 4 universal laws: the law of attraction, the law of conscious manifestation, the law of allowance, and the law of balance and harmony. And then having the courage and the wisdom to be objective in these difficult times, to know what to do. And one of the best sources of information right here, brothers and sisters.
You don't need to always plug me, George. You're nice.
True.
Well, they obviously know that they're tuned in, but no, I think they're the great source of info. They need to be leaders, and they are doing this.
Of course, and it's just not up to Alex or myself or a few others. Many hands make light work, and if every one of you, if even 1 out of 2 of you will just talk to one person this week, the critical mass of consciousness is what is important. Truth is on our side. Righteousness is on our side. Goodness is on our side. If we keep an open heart, we don't hate our what we call enemies. They're our opponents. And we also stand up for our rights as sovereign, trinary, divine beings. And I'll tell you what, folks, this is not a joke. And I would ask you to read this book, Love, Life, and Joy, and I think you're going to be carrying this book pretty soon. He's low prices on it, and consider the possibilities. There are so many alive and awake people out here who are talking about this stuff, who are so amazing. It is important for all of you to come together in groups and be able to talk about this.
Well, that's why, and I'm not getting into